I would save this for last because once you learn these muscles and see where they are, this is pretty intuitive. Okay, so it won't be that bad. And honestly, none of the muscles that we're covering today are on this list. So this would be more relevant next class. Okay? So, that being said, we can focus on this list today. We're gonna start at group 7, the superficial hip and thigh. And we're gonna do 8 and 9. That's everything we're doing today. So I'm gonna break this up into 3 different sections. All right, so we are dissecting a cat officially now. Again, we're trying to, destroy the cat without destroying the cat. The goal here is to find borders of the muscles, like at the edge of the muscles, and cut them out so they're nice and pretty so you can see the muscles easily. So if you don't see a border, it might be because there's too much fascia over it and you gotta pick off some more fascia to get to it. But again, I'll give you tips and tricks on how we do this. All right, so this is gonna be our first muscle that we cover right here. Around. This muscle right here. Do you guys see the border to this muscle right here? All right, that one's an easy border to find. That's why I always start with this muscle. All right, so let me cut out that border real quick. I'm gonna do very gentle and shallow cuts. Now, I'm probably have mentioned this before, but you will not be able to just take a picture of a muscle and study it. I do not expect you to know a muscle just by what it looks like. It is more about its location, its region, and what other muscles are around it. So to really study for this properly, you should be studying muscles as a group, all together. All right, so you can find a muscle that's easy to identify, and then from there you can count 1, 2, 3. It's this one. Does that make sense? Okay. So instead of taking pictures, I suggest everybody take videos of themselves doing this. All right, you can have somebody in your group videotaping while somebody else points to each muscle, says it out loud, and then when you're at home, you could watch the video with it on mute and practice and see if you can get the muscles right. Okay. All right, I have got this border out now. Ever see how I did that? Easy. Yeah, just cut along it. It comes off nice and easy. Now I got to find the other border. So this is what you're going to do. Once you get one border off, that was easy. To find the other border, all you need to do is take a probe and kind of find the other side of it. All right. The fascia that's holding the muscle together is really soft. You can puncture through it. And if it's not soft, now just look for the metal. See the metal there? That's not muscle. That's connective tissue holding the muscle together. Done. All right. So once you find that, you can lift the muscle and cut the rest of the border. Does that make sense? Okay. All right, so this is a big muscle that runs down our hip. All right, this is called your bicep femoris. I'm sure you heard the term bicep before, right? Anybody know what it means? Close. You're very good. 2 heads. Very good. It tells you how many heads the muscle has. Now, when you usually hear bicep, what do you think of? Yeah, this. This is actually called your biceps brachii. Biceps is just people being lazy. All right, biceps brachii. This is called your biceps femoris. It has 2 heads, and guess what bone it's over? The femur, bicep femoris. That makes sense? All right, so this is a good muscle to start with because it's nice and large. From there, I'm going to start moving more to the anterior of the cat. There's going to be another very thin muscle next to it. So again, if you stretch everything out, you see a border here. Yeah. And there's the rest of the border here. Put the cat around. There's a border here and here. It's kind of like a little ribbon. Okay, we'll cut that out now. All right, so most of the muscles that we cover in cats, we have as humans. All right, they're gonna look a little different because obviously our cat physiology is different than human physiology, but they're in the same location and named the same thing. All right, so we do have the same type of muscles. There's only going to be 4 muscles in total that we cover for the next 2 weeks that cats have that we do not have or have an equivalent of. And this will be your first one right here, this little ribbon. All right, this is a cat muscle that we don't have. This muscle helps cats stabilize their tail when they're running. All right, because they use their tail as like a little rudder. All right, so looking at your list, can you figure out the name of this muscle? It stabilizes their tail and it runs over the femur. Nope. Nope. That's not it. But yeah, you said that there.
Oh, you said this
Try to find it.
Oh.
Very good. It's called your cauda femoralis. Do you remember what cauda means? Tail. Very good. Cauda femoralis is the one that controls the tail that goes over the femur. It's accurate with everybody. All right. So we have bicep femoris. Now cauda femoralis is this next ribbon. The next 2 muscles are kind of hard to separate, and it's really hard to see the border. You're probably going to have to get some of this really thick fascia off to do it. All right, so just kind of work the fascia off, getting tools underneath. Here it is All right, these next two muscles are your butt muscles. Does anybody know what they're called?
Maximus.
Your glutes. Very good. All right. I want you to keep something in mind. These muscles were named after humans, not cats. Okay? So the name might not make sense on a cat, but it will make sense on a human. All right, so I have two gluteus muscles. I have this little flap right here. See that flap? All right, which is covering partially this bigger muscle that runs underneath it. Okay. All right, so I have this flap of a muscle right here that's covering this bigger muscle that runs underneath it. And you can see a little bit of it here. Which one of these do you think is the gluteus maximus versus the medius?
Maximus is the bigger one.
What do you think this one's going to be? The smaller one?
Medius.
You'd be wrong. That's the gluteus maximus. Because remember, it was named after humans. Our maximus is much bigger. So this is the gluteus maximus. It's the same muscle. It's just ours is bigger because of how we walk. We are bipeds. Okay. Well, our medius is smaller. It is opposite in cats. Their gluteus medius is much bigger than their maximus. So remember, these muscles were named after us, not cats, because we're egotistical like that. All right, everybody good with those? All right, once you find your medius, then you're gonna go a little bit to the lateral side and you're gonna see a kind of upside down check mark. See that check mark? Upside down? This upside down check mark right there. Okay. It's an upside down check mark. Okay. This muscle will grow into this really thick fascia down here. So let me grab this fascia real quick. Gotcha. All right. Does everybody see this fascia right here? Really thick fascia. So this muscle controls this fascia. This fascia goes all the way to your knee. Okay. When this muscle contracts, it pulls the fascia, and look what happens to the leg when I pull this fascia. What's it doing? Abducting the hip. Very good. Okay. All right. This fascia is called your fascia lata. And the muscle up here that pulls the fascia lata is called what? The tensor fascia lata. Very good. So the tensor fascia lata will pull the fascia lata. Now I'm sure a lot of you have heard of your IT band before, right? That is the thickest part of your fascia lata. IT band is part of the fascia lata, and some people do tear it. All right, is everybody good there? All right, and the last structure, what you're gonna need to do is go back to the bicep femoris, and you're gonna cut the bicep femoris by the knee and the leg, and we're gonna reflect it. So whenever you hear somebody say reflecting and dissection, this is what they mean. Cut by an origin or insertion. Make sure I'm not going too deep. Nope, we're good. We're still good. Yes, we're still good. Okay. So I'm cutting by the knee and leg, and I'm going to reflect the bicep femoris this way. Ever see that? When you do, there will be a structure in here I want you to find. Here it is right here. Get some of this fascia off. That's a huge one. I haven't seen that one that big before. Does ever see this little guitar string right here? This is not part of the muscular system, but this is your only opportunity to see one, so that's why we're talking about it. All right. Anybody be guessing what that might be? It's not a muscle. What does it look like to you? It is a nerve. Very good. What nerve?
Sciatic nerve.
That's your sciatic nerve right there. It's a very big nerve that runs down your leg. Remember we talked about sciatica? It forks and runs through the sciatic notches of the os coxa. There's the nerve right there. So make sure you take a look at that before you're done. All right, so that's everything for this first group. So let's recap real quick. What's this big one?
Bicep femoris.
Bicep femoris. Good. Then we have this little thinner one, this ribbon next to it. Cauda femoralis. Good. That was a little different in name. Then we have this little flap. Gluteus maximus. Then we have this bigger one in front. Gluteus medius. And then we have this check mark right here. Tensor fascia lata. Then we have the actual fascia, which is the fascia lata. Try to leave your fascia lata as a band like this if you can. And then we reflect the bicep femoris to see this. What was that? Sciatic nerve. Good. So let's go ahead and get through that. Do one side, and if we have enough time, we'll try to do another side too. Okay. All right, let's go ahead and get started. Ugh.